Chapter 7. Regaining sense of belonging through compassion. Self-compassion is a way of relating to ourselves with kindness, understanding, and acceptance, especially during times of difficulty, failure, or suffering. It involves treating ourselves with the same warmth and care we would offer to a good friend or loved one who is going through a challenging situation. Self-compassion has three main components: kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. More on that below. It doesn't rely on external achievements or validation, but rather on treating ourselves with kindness and understanding regardless of our perceived successes or failures. Practicing self-compassion involves developing a nurturing and supportive inner dialogue, treating ourselves with care, and extending understanding and forgiveness to ourselves when faced with challenges or mistakes. It can be cultivated through mindfulness exercises, self-reflective practices, and self-care activities that prioritize our emotional well-being. Trauma and self-compassion. Trauma can have a significant impact on our ability to practice self-compassion. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with kindness, empathy, and understanding, especially during difficult or challenging times. However, trauma can cause us to feel disconnected from ourselves, leading to self-criticism, shame, and self-blame. This can make it difficult to practice self-compassion, as we may feel unworthy or undeserving of compassion. On the other hand, practicing self-compassion can be an effective way to cope with the effects of trauma. When we are able to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, we can reduce feelings of shame, self-blame, and isolation, and cultivate a sense of safety and security within ourselves. This can be especially important for individuals who have experienced trauma, as trauma can cause feelings of disconnection and alienation from oneself and others. Research has shown that practicing self-compassion can lead to a range of positive outcomes for those who have experienced trauma, including increased resilience, improved emotional regulation, decreased symptoms of anxiety and depression, and a more positive and accepting relationship with ourselves. Overall, while trauma can make it challenging to practice self-compassion, developing a compassionate and understanding relationship with ourselves can be an important part of coping with the effects of trauma and promoting healing and recovery. When we experience trauma, we may develop negative beliefs about ourselves, such as feeling unworthy, unlovable, or powerless. These beliefs can contribute to feelings of shame, self-criticism, and self-blame, which can further exacerbate the effects of trauma. However, by practicing self-compassion, we can learn to treat ourselves with kindness, empathy, and understanding, even in the face of difficult emotions or experiences. This involves cultivating three key components of self-compassion we mentioned before. Self-kindness. Treating ourselves with warmth, understanding, and patience, rather than harsh self-criticism or judgment. Common humanity. Recognizing that we are not alone in our suffering, and that others also experience pain and difficulty in their lives. Mindfulness. Observing and accepting our thoughts and emotions without judgment, and cultivating a non-reactive, non-judgmental attitude toward our experiences. By practicing self-compassion, we can develop a more positive and accepting relationship with ourselves, which can help us to cope with the effects of trauma and promote healing and recovery. Research has shown that practicing self-compassion can lead to a range of positive outcomes for individuals who have experienced trauma, including increased resilience, improved emotional regulation, and decreased symptoms of anxiety and depression. Self-compassion can be very helpful when it comes to healing from trauma. The more vulnerable you are willing to be, and to be able to open the Pandora's box with your past, often difficult experience, requires a very high grade of both courage and kindness towards oneself. We want to give you several quick tips on how to cultivate this approach within you and towards others. 1. Talk to yourself in a kind and compassionate way, using words of comfort and support. 2. Engage in activities that bring you joy and comfort, such as spending time in nature or with loved ones. 3. Focus on your strengths and positive qualities, rather than dwelling on your perceived weaknesses or failures. 4. Cultivate mindfulness through practices such as meditation, deep breathing, or body scans. Recent research has found that being kind to ourselves, understanding that we are not alone in our struggles, and being aware of our thoughts and emotions can help us grow after going through tough experiences. It's important to cope with our emotions and problems in a healthy way. Tool 1: Tough Questions, From Writing to Becoming. This exercise is designed to lower the volume of the voice we are all used to hearing, our inner critic, to be able to hear another voice that is always there for us, but is much more beneficial and subtle than the critic is. We are also taught to rather listen to the critic than to the other voice. But who is speaking to us, really? The inner critic is a widely known concept, but the other one? We like to call it the gentle, or compassionate parent voice. The inner critic and compassionate parent are two different concepts related to our internal dialogue and our approach to nurturing and supporting others. Inner critic. The inner critic refers to the critical voice within ourselves that tends to be harsh, judgmental, and self-critical. It is the internalized voice of external influences such as societal standards, past experiences, and expectations. The inner critic can be relentless in pointing out our flaws, mistakes, and perceived inadequacies. It often leads to feelings of self-doubt, low self-esteem, and anxiety. The inner critic can hinder personal growth and well-being by creating negative self-talk and reinforcing limiting beliefs. Compassionate parent. The compassionate parent, on the other hand, is an approach to nurturing and supporting yourself and others with kindness, understanding, and empathy. It involves providing love, care, and guidance while recognizing and validating emotions, needs, and individuality. Compassionate parent focus on building strong connections, promoting healthy development, and fostering a positive sense of self. It encourages communication, active listening, setting boundaries, and teaching skills to navigate challenges. The compassionate parent is really ourselves. How to distinguish between the two of them? Pay attention to the following elements of self-talk. 1. Focus. The inner critic primarily focuses on self-judgment and negative self-talk, while the compassionate parent emphasizes providing love and support. 2. Target. The inner critic primarily affects our own self-perception and emotional well-being, while the compassionate parent aims to promote growth and well-being. 3. Tone. The inner critic uses a critical and negative tone, often reinforcing self-doubt and fear. In contrast, the compassionate parent utilizes a kind, understanding, and empathetic tone. 4. Purpose. The inner critic tends to undermine self-confidence and hinder personal growth, whereas the compassionate parent seeks to nurture and empower children, helping them develop resilience, self-esteem, and positive relationships. It's important to recognize and quiet the inner critic within ourselves through self-compassion, cultivating a more supportive and nurturing inner voice. By practicing compassionate parenting towards ourselves, we can provide a positive and nurturing environment for our inner children, helping them develop a healthy sense of self and fostering their overall well-being. We can choose to give more voice to the compassionate parent through the Tough Questions creative writing exercise. It will help us with cultivating compassionate responses towards ourselves and others. It is important to note that this change, like any other change, will not happen overnight, so don't get discouraged. The important thing is to plant the seed. If you are consistent and water it every day, over time you will grow a beautiful new compassionate nervous system response that will change your life for the better. Here's how you perform this exercise. 1. Find a quiet and comfortable space where you can focus without distractions. 2. Have a pen and paper or your preferred writing tools ready. 3. Imagine a scenario or situation in which you often struggle to respond with compassion or kindness. It could be a conflict, a challenging relationship, or a personal struggle. 4. Write down 3 tough questions related to that situation. These questions should challenge your usual responses and encourage compassionate thinking. 5. Reflect on each question and aim to answer them with the highest possible compassion grade. Consider how a compassionate and understanding person would respond. 6. Write your responses in a free-flowing manner, without judgment or self-censorship. Allow your answers to come from a place of genuine empathy and kindness. 7. After answering each question, take a moment to reflect on how your compassionate response differs from your usual reaction. Notice any shifts in perspective or emotional well-being. 8. Repeat this exercise periodically, exploring different scenarios and tough questions to further develop your compassionate responses. Example: scenario, a conflict with a classmate. Tough questions. 1. Why do I tend to react defensively and engage in arguments instead of seeking understanding? 2. How can I shift from being judgmental to actively listening and showing empathy? 3. What can I do to find common ground and work towards resolution instead of escalating the conflict? Examples of compassionate responses. 1. Instead of reacting defensively, I can remind myself that my classmate may be experiencing their own challenges or insecurities. By understanding their perspective and addressing their concerns with empathy, we can foster a more collaborative and supportive environment. 2. Rather than being judgmental, I can remind myself that everyone makes mistakes and has their own unique struggles. I can actively listen to my classmate, validating their feelings and acknowledging their perspective without immediate criticism. This will create a safe space for open communication and understanding. 3. To find common ground and resolve conflicts, I can approach the situation with a mindset of cooperation rather than competition. I can propose solutions that consider both our needs and find compromises that benefit both parties. By focusing on shared goals and fostering a sense of teamwork, we can build strong, working relationships. Remember to embrace self-compassion throughout this exercise. Recognize that changing habitual responses takes time and practice. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small, and continue to nurture your capacity for compassion in various aspects of life. Tool 2. Write yourself a better story. Our minds are incredibly powerful and play a significant role in shaping our perception of the world. One fascinating aspect of our minds is confirmation bias, which refers to our tendency to seek out and interpret information that aligns with our existing beliefs and expectations. This bias influences how we perceive and interpret the world around us, creating a unique and subjective experience for each individual. While we all inhabit the same physical reality, our subjective experiences differ because of the narratives we construct within our minds. These narratives are formed by our beliefs, past experiences, cultural influences, and societal conditioning. They serve as the lens through which we perceive and make sense of the world. Telling ourselves a better story involves recognizing the narratives that no longer serve us and consciously choosing to reframe them in a more positive and empowering light. By doing so, we can actively shift our perspective, attitudes, and beliefs, ultimately transforming our world vision. When we tell ourselves a better story, we begin to challenge our existing beliefs and open ourselves up to new possibilities. We intentionally seek out evidence and experiences that align with our new narrative. By actively searching for alternative viewpoints and interpretations, we broaden our understanding and start to see the world in a different light. Changing our narrative offers numerous benefits. It enhances our sense of self-worth and self-confidence as we embrace a more positive view of ourselves and our capabilities. It fuels motivation and resilience as we shift from a mindset of limitation to one of growth and possibility. Moreover, it positively impacts our emotional well-being by reducing self-criticism and negative self-talk, leading to increased happiness and fulfillment. By consciously changing our narrative, we become active participants in shaping our reality. We move away from being passive recipients of our experiences and instead become creators of our own stories. This transformation empowers us to make positive changes, pursue our goals, and live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. It's important to note that changing our narrative is not about denying or suppressing negative emotions or difficult experiences. It's about acknowledging them while actively reframing our perspective to focus on growth, learning, and resilience. It's about consciously choosing a narrative that supports our well-being and empowers us to create the life we desire. Write yourself a better story is a compound exercise and can be overwhelming, as it is quite difficult to reframe a past experience, the meaning of which we have been repeating to ourselves again and again for years. That's why it is recommended to start with a past experience that is not so significant for us, or, better yet, with a present experience that is just a little bit unpleasant, enough to cause us a bit of discomfort. Keep in mind that the fastest way to change the course of our future lives is to start changing and molding our present. Here's how to perform the exercise. Prepare by dividing a piece of paper in 3 columns. The first one will be the space for writing down the original feelings that arose when you first had the challenging experience, the second one will be for freely rearranging your thoughts about the experience, and the third one is to give the old experience a final, new form, a starting point for growth. 1. Choose an experience that you would like to work on. As we said before, it doesn't have to be an extremely difficult one. We are looking for a mild challenge here. It could be a personal setback, a failure, or a disappointment. 2. Reflect on the initial narrative. Take a few moments to reflect on the initial thoughts, beliefs, and emotions associated with the chosen experience. Consider how it has affected your perspective and self-perception. How did you feel when you were experiencing it? After recalling your feelings, write them in the first column of the piece of paper that you previously prepared. 3. Identify the lessons and growth opportunities. Explore the potential lessons and growth opportunities that can emerge from this experience. Consider how it might contribute to personal development, resilience, and character building. Loosely write your thoughts about it in the second column. Don't worry about the outcome, this is a work in process. 4. Reframe the narrative. Begin writing a new story by reframing the difficult experience. Start by acknowledging the initial challenges and emotions, but then shift the focus to the positive aspects and potential benefits that can arise from it. Start putting it into words and then transfer them on your piece of paper, third column. 5. Embrace personal growth and resilience. Highlight the ways in which this experience can foster personal growth, resilience, and inner strength. Focus on the lessons learned, skills gained, and the new perspectives that can be developed as a result. 6. Cultivate self-compassion. Throughout the exercise, infuse self-compassion into the new narrative. Try to be kind, understanding, and forgiving toward yourself as you navigate through challenges. 7. Visualize a positive outcome. Envision a positive outcome or future scenario that reflects the growth and transformation resulting from this experience. Imagine yourself embracing your newfound strength, confidence, and wisdom. 8. Emphasize personal empowerment. Encourage yourself to take ownership of their story and embrace their ability to shape their own narrative. Emphasize your power to redefine your experiences and use them as stepping stones toward a brighter future. You can repeat the exercise as many times as you wish, working on a different experience or on the same experience. Repeating work on one of the challenging memories of yours can often get you to a place you would never have imagined when you first started the exercise. If you choose to work on the same experience again, we recommend allowing yourself plenty of time for reflection between the attempts. This will ensure the integration of any emotions that we originally chose to reject.